City DMV here. I want to talk to y'all about tournament sponsorship. Now that's a big thing that it's been a topic of discussion for a while. A lot of pros, a lot of semi-pros, a lot of guys in general just don't like talking about it that are on the higher levels. But I'm here to talk to you about it, you know, starting from the grassroots campaign and going all the way up. You know, some of the things I'm going to talk to you about is how to acquire them, you know, what exactly to do, how do you get into it. And a lot of these principles that I'm about to share with you are a lot of the same things that guys today are currently doing on the higher levels, because today's society, today's bass fishing climate, sponsorship is changing. It's an ever-changing deal. Everything is more fast-paced. Everything is more social media-based. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about. And a lot of guys that are older, they require sponsorships through non-traditional ways. And this new wave of sponsorship and how to acquire them is really changing the game. A lot of older guys, they just don't like it. They don't like a lot of them don't like the success of some of the younger guys and how they've acquired them. They feel like they kind of skipped some of the ranks, so to speak. But that's just you know, attributed to the changing times. All right, so pretty much this video from this point on is going to be going over the 3 or 4 key things I think is critical in your quest as the tournament angler to acquire sponsorship. So you know, I get a lot of questions just while I'm out fishing, bank fishing, after tournaments from co-anglers and actually some boaters on, you know, how did you get sponsored? You know, even as a co-angler like myself, someone who does not have a boat yet. So one of the most important things I tell people is just social media. I can't stress that enough. Social media, social media, social media. That is the absolute #1 thing that you guys should remember out there. And it's a tool that is very powerful, and it's an avenue that can get you seen by some of these companies that you look to have sponsored or acquire sponsorship from, rather. Yeah, it looks cool on your jerseys and all that stuff, but it's so much more to it than that. The #1 thing as a tournament angler that I tell guys, don't try to seek sponsorship from companies that you don't believe in their products. Actually do the field testing on your own. And the easiest way I tell guys to do it, and this is actually what I did, I took one of the companies that I've felt like no matter where I go, I have to have one of their baits in my hand at all times. Something that I caught my personal PB on, something that, you know, has just been a staple my entire life in the bass fishing world, industry, life. You know, whether it's bank fishing, tournament fishing, a bait that has just been something that I just first laid eyes on, and it's always been a staple in my life, period. Before any type of sponsorship or money or tournaments is involved, something I just fell in love with as a kid from my time I was like 5, 6 years old. I took that bait, and from there, I went on their website, tried to see if I could find any information about, you know, how to be sponsored. I saw information on it. And from that point on, once I got my tournament jersey, you know, I just took the liberty of putting, you know, their logo on my tournament jersey, because that's something that I would hope to have a relationship with. That's a company I hope to have a relationship with down the line. So eventually what happened was, the more I started posting videos on Facebook, I'm sorry, not Facebook, but on Instagram. You can use Facebook too, whatever your social media outlook is. But the more and more I started posting fish catches, actual fish catches of just times I was in tournaments, times I was just bank fishing, just the more and more I post pictures of me, you know, with whoever company's bait in my hand, in the fish's mouth, on my jersey, just whatever. The more I post and I hashtag that company and tag them in the video, i.e. picture, you know, before you know it, throughout the year, I've posted 60, 70 pictures of bass catches to that company. So eventually, a marketing rep from that company reached out to me via social media. This is how the times are changing. Never got one phone call initially. It was all social media based until after the first month. That's when I actually talked to somebody, you know, and it was because I called. It wasn't because they called. It was because I called. But it was all social media presence. And from that point on, I got my sponsorship through that company. Not because, you know, they just picked me out of a crowd, because I did all the initial legwork. I got a tournament jersey made. I put that company on my tournament jersey. Every time I went out bank fishing or on a boat and I caught something, caught a bass on that particular lure for that particular company, I tagged them in it. Told them, you know, how much I believe in the company, you know, how much I love the bait, how it's killing them. And eventually, they've been seeing that the whole year. And don't think that they don't see you. They get hundreds of pictures a day probably, but they do see them. There's a person specifically engaged in just watching social media. There's an actual, you know, college graduate or graduate degree person, someone high in the company that's making a pretty good salary that's watching social media. That's a great job to have, just watching social media. But there's a person that's watching, so don't think that no one's watching. So eventually, they reached out to me, and boom, it's just like a college giving you a scholarship. From that point on, we have a relationship, and next thing you know, I get a ton of baits from one of my favorite bait makers for, you know, half the price of what a guy would go in the store and get it from, which means I can afford it a lot more, especially tournaments when you're constantly losing stuff, having to retie for whatever reason, breaking out, whatever. That's big. And a lot of companies have moved towards that. Unless you're at the very, very high elite level, you're not getting paid a check from your sponsorship. Most of the time, it's product deals. And that may come by way of, you know, free apparel, 50% off, anywhere from 30, 50, 60, 70. Every company's different. But they're going to give you a nice, healthy percentage off of, you know, their baits, their tackle, their rods, their reels, whatever it is that they have, they're going to give you a nice percentage off of. It may be, you know, get a special invite to like their holiday program, holiday parties, their special pro staff functions, whether they have a booth at ICAST, whether they have a booth at Bassmasters Classic or the Forest Wood Cup. You're gonna get those type of perks, those type of VIP perks. So that is my first thing. Making yourself aware and putting yourself out there to the other company on social media. All right. The next thing, it also involves social media, like just about everything I'm gonna talk to you about, is during the off season. And what I consider the off season is late fall. I would say anywhere from the beginning of November, the end of October, the beginning of November, all the way up until, you know, I'd say February, you know, for most parts of the country, like myself that's on the Northeast. It's, you know, not too many tournaments going on. If you're down south, I know tournaments start up in January in Florida, but they're here and there tournaments. They're not like, you know, tournaments all over the place as you would be in that April, May time frame. But that is the time of year in the off season that you're looking on social media, because companies are actually putting stuff out there that says, hey, we're looking for 55 boaters from the Midwest region to send in their applications if they look to acquire sponsorship from, I don't know, I'm just going to say Mustad Hooks, Gamakatsu Hooks, whatever, bait companies, whatever, Gambler Lures, they may say, hey, we're looking for, co-anglers in the Florida region, in the New York region, in the Midwest region, in the West Coast. But this is the time of year where companies will put their information out there on social media specifically, and say, hey, we're now accepting applications for our 2019 bass fishing year for the following representatives, the following type of reps. It could be field reps. It could be field reps is basically like basically people that are fishing tournaments, boaters, co-anglers. It could be product testers. You get special products, promotional stuff that is not going to be available to the general public beforehand. So you'll get it first to try it out. Field testers, basically you are a field tester to try it out, give your input. It'll be a survey. You send it back to them, and they'll test it, and they'll take it from a bunch of people all across the United States, and they'll put it together, and they'll either improve the product or they'll put it out. Eventually, it will be put out. So that's another thing. But generally speaking, you want to be, someone that's on the actual staff, pro staff, whatever that company is labeling to be. And they're actually out this time of year right now sending, postings out. And all you have to do is, some of them require different things. Some of them want you to have at least, 3 years tournament experience. Some of them don't have an experience requirement. Some of them want you to have a bass fishing resume. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the video, in the next segment actually. Some of them want you to post, have posting requirements. They want you to post maybe 3 to 5 fish catches every month, or maybe 1 post a week. It just depends on the company and what their specific criteria for being on their pro staff is. But whatever it is, companies are realizing the power of social media, and it's a gigantic tool where you can reach millions of people in just a post, with the ability for things to go viral. That's just the wave of the future right now. All right, guys, here we go. Bass fishing resume. All right. Just like any other job, when you want to get hired, you need a resume for the most part. Some jobs don't require resumes, obviously, but having a bass fishing resume is something that you want to have. Structured just like a regular resume. Have your information at the top, mainly name, phone number, contact information, email, address if you feel comfortable. And the most important thing is to highlight your body of work. If you fish BFLs, if you fish the ABAs, if you fish the Costa Series, if you fish the Bassmaster Opens, whatever it is that you fish, team tournaments, whatever, cat trail, you need to highlight that. Highlight that in the body of your resume, in a section that says tournament trails fished, because companies want to see that, what type of benefit are they going to get from obtaining you, as a member of their organization. And if you're fishing the Costas, if you're fishing, ABAs, if you're in a national championship or some of these events, a lot of these events are televised to a certain extent. A lot of these things are streamed around the world live a lot of times. So they're looking at it from a promotional standpoint, like, okay, this is another avenue to gain some exposure from a market that we otherwise may not actually have that exposure. And is the reward, of obtaining, new business from this market worth, the small minimum risk of, having this person as a boater or a co-angler, and I'm giving them a 20-30% off deal. It's no different from hiring an employee without actually paying them. They're just getting a perk. So the reward is great for a company, and a lot of times as a boater or co-angler, anytime you can reduce your cost by anything in bass fishing, because this is an expensive sport, that's a good thing. So it's really a win for the boater or co-angler as well. So it's a win-win on both sides. Yeah, they may not be offering a monetary payout, but that's what you want to do. So have a section of that Bass Fishery resume following your contact information, name, phone number, email address, social media links. You can add hyperlinks in your resume. That's a good way to do it as well. Followed by that will be a section of your tournaments fished, and get a little bit more detailed. Some of your better tournaments, I'd actually put in parentheses and highlight the finishes. If you got top 10 finishes, put them up there, because chances are the guys that are in the top 10s, the top 20s, they're going to be recognized in some way, shape, form, or fashion. They will be recognized. You're in the top 10, you're probably going to get a check most likely. You may even get a plaque, depending on the tournament, something or another. They're gonna know that, okay, this guy was 10 top 10 finishes in 2018. He knows what he's doing. Whether you're a boater or co-angler, you know what you're doing. If you finish 10 times in the top 10 out of 25 tournaments, you fished in the top 10 of them. That's a pretty good percentage, and you probably got paid a decent amount of money. So that's a good thing. So list that. And then closing, just write a small little statement on why you feel like you'd be an asset to that company, and highlight some of the key things that you think that you can add from a value perspective to that company. That's what I always do, because some of these companies, they're looking for that. They want to see how you write, because you gotta think, when you are a sponsoree, they're looking to see how you ultimately represent their company, because you're going to be under the umbrella of whatever that company's name is, whether it's a Riot Baits. You got to be able to present yourself well, and they want to know that this person can actually speak. This person actually sounds like he knows what he's talking about. He has some type of intellect to him. You got to have some type of intellect to yourself. You can't just be out here flapping off at the gums and not knowing what you're talking about, and then making that company look like a fool in the process, because they always reserve the right to terminate sponsorship at any time. That's their right. So in the videos, in the postings, they just want to see that you have some type of professionalism to yourself. And what better way to show them in a snapshot is that resume, because that resume is essentially your interview, because companies are not out here interviewing guys anymore, for the most part, in the bass fishing industry. And maybe they used to, but I know nowadays it's all social media based. Everything is online. I've actually heard a guy said that he actually talked to one of his sponsors through FaceTime. So everything is changing in this type of environment. So that's one way that one thing that you actually want to add to your arsenal is a bass fishing resume, just in case a company asks for it. And every year, add on to it. 2019, 2018, 2019, add up there the highlights. If you've won, make sure you highlight that. All right, and thirdly, what I want to talk to you guys about in terms of like sponsorships, because it's not all about sponsorships all the time. Some of it's about a partnership, and that's the contingency programs. A lot of people don't do their research on contingency programs. Now, what is a contingency? A contingency is an offer from the company that is made to the boater or co-angler for being a part or affiliated with their organization, a lot of times by way of membership and by way of following their rules and participating in a sanctioned tournament. Now, a sanctioned tournament is basically any tournament that whatever company that you're trying to have sponsor you, whatever they deem as a sanctioned tournament. You can go on their website of whatever company. So like, let's give an example. Just say Riot Baits has a contingency program that we're gonna give $500 to the top co-angler that finishes in a sanctioned event. A sanctioned event, they'll have a section on their website that says sanctioned events, BFLs, ABA Open Series, and the Bassmaster Open Series. or any Bassmaster team events. That they'll have a list, and that's an example of the type of sanctioned tournaments that they would have. And they'll say, for a boater, we're going to give $1,000 to the highest finishing boater in these sanctioned tournaments. And the sanctioned tournaments, again, would include BFLs, Bassmaster Opens, ABA Opens. So, and if you go on on the website under, whatever company that you seek to have sponsorship from, they'll have something like a section that says contingencies. Now, I have a contingency with Lose. All right, so with Lose, they have a program you pay about, I think it's like $29 or $30 a year or something like that, and you get a hat, you get a couple little small basically a contingency package. It may be a gift card for like $20 off of a reel of $100 or more. It's a sticker and something else. Maybe a cutting tool for your braid, a braid cutting tool, something like that. They'll have some type of sponsorship package that you'll get, and you'll get that, and that's a partnership with them. And their rules will state that you need to have our logo present on your jersey at the time of you participating in a sanctioned tournament. So when you go up on stage to weigh your fish, to accept your check, you need to have something that says Lose on it, whether it's a hat, whether it's something on your jersey, wherever. It could be on the left side, it could be on the right side. Some of them have very specific rules. It needs to be on the right side, it needs to be on the left side, it needs to be up underneath the American flag. All of this stuff, it's based on the specific needs of the company. But that may be one of their rules, which it actually is. You have to have Lose on your tournament jersey, or you have to be wearing something Lose, whether it be a hat or a logo on your tournament jersey. You have to pay the $29 membership in that calendar year. And a lot of times the calendar year goes from December 31st. It ends on December 31st. So it'll go January 1 to December 31st the next year, and it starts over. So basically, that's the contingency. That's a contingency. So you need to have those on your jerseys as well. So once you have, those few things, you're ready to go from a sponsorship, because, it's been plenty of times that, I didn't win a tournament, but I was the highest finishing I was the highest finishing co-angler that was in the contingency program, and I still got a check for like $150 or $100. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's not much, but that stuff adds up. A lot of people don't do that. So you need to take a look at that. And you do that 10 tournaments, people don't claim it. You made $1,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? So that's the type of things you need to be aware of. That's out there as a co-angler, as a boater. I'm sure most boaters know. Maybe most co-anglers don't know. But that's the type of things that's out there that can make up a big chunk of your fishing throughout that year. So if you guys have any more questions or concerns, please email me. strikecitydmv@gmail.com. You could direct message me on Instagram at strikecitydmv, or you could send me a message on my YouTube channel via direct message at strikecitydmv. Thank you guys again for all your support. Please subscribe to my channel on YouTube and follow me on Instagram. Tight Lines.